Alright, so we're back to middle C. This is called middle C. Now you may have noticed that if I go here to the bottom line of the top staff, it's an E. Now, but if I moved it to the bottom line here, this is now a G all the way over here. And it's much lower. So how do we discern between the bottom line of this staff and the bottom line of that staff? Unless you have the two staffs together, you wouldn't know. We're going to add two symbols. So here are the two symbols we're adding. This one is called a treble clef, and this one is called a bass clef. So treble clef and bass clef, all right? And what they do is they just tell us, are we using this top staff or the bottom staff? So that's going to change what the note is. So one more time, if I have a top note in the bass clef, that's actually the A right below middle C. Whereas if I have the top note in treble clef, that's this F way up here. There's a huge difference between this A and this F. Okay? As we go through this course, we're not going to study bass clef just yet. We're going to go through some treble clef songs. We will gradually introduce bass clef later. But I just want to show you one more thing. We know now that there are really only three notes in this little space here. There's a space, there's a line, and then there's this other note on this space here. Okay? That's how far apart these two staves are, just these three white notes in the middle. But visually, music is rarely written this closely together. Usually these are going to be further apart, which means you can have a middle C here as a part of the treble clef, and I can also have a middle C here as a part of the bass clef. So this is why middle C is on the underside of the treble clef and on the upside of the bass clef. These two notes represent the same note, okay? But in treble clef, you're going to keep going further down, and eventually you're going to want to switch to bass clef. This note here is an F below middle C. The same note is actually on the staff of the bass clef. Okay? There's a range here where treble clef and bass clef overlap, right here in the middle of the keyboard. You will often see notes coming down as far as here, or sometimes here in the treble clef. I've seen them lower, but generally this is about as far as it goes. And likewise, in the bass clef, you're going to see some overlap as it's going to go further up here and sometimes here. And once again, I've seen higher than that, but it's kind of rare. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of what the musical staff is and what it does. And I'm not expecting you to really memorize this information just yet or be able to read music just because you've watched this video. No, the point is just to give you a big picture. And so now we're going to go into learning some treble clef exercises. We're going to do some songs based totally in treble clef, and we're going to introduce more of the bass clef later.